O learn me true understanding and knowledge, for I have believed thy commandments. Good morning, and welcome on the Feast of St. Bede to dawn in the Savernake Forest. Those words from Psalm 119 are a good summary, really, of Bede's whole intention, his legacy, certainly, of understanding and knowledge enlightened by the scriptures and commandments of God. The father of English history, and the one to whom we owe that synthesis of faith and place, which is the origin of England. And where better to be when thinking about the origins of England than one of the great oaks of England, the King of Limbs, this staggering explosion of a tree you can see. And it has this arresting title because its limbs, its arms just spread out in an unusual way, and indeed some of them, as you can see, have collapsed out of the main body of the tree and now lie on like the tentacles of a leviathan, flailing out, stretching out along the ground. And up here you can see that the main trunks, there are three of them, also reach out in unusual ways. It's a most unusual tree, and I'm going to go inside it now, which is always a great thing to do in old yews or oaks. And here I am in the womb of the tree. You can probably hear the sound is muffled, and I think we might do the rest of it from inside here. I tried to sketch this tree yesterday, but it's not an easy thing to do because it's such a peculiar shape and it's complex and knotty. Look at that. A beautiful thing. Well, I wanted to be here to read to you a piece I wrote about the Savernake this time last year, and that culminates, as you'll hear, at another of the great oaks. Most of the really significant oaks in the Savernake have got names, which is rather lovely. And so this is a piece called Saphannock. The midst of May, nature's parade. My son, mock revising, those were the days, and himself a biological marvel, inching ever upward to the sun, enthuses at the brilliance of plants, every leaf a factory at its peak, puffing out its perfect equation of elements. This photosynthetic month is ideal for discovering the Savernake, 7 square miles of antique woodland and perhaps our most precious scrap of primeval forest. Hitherto, my encounters with this enchanted plateau have been limited to rushing through the verdant corridor of the A346 on my way to Salisbury, dodging cadavers of deer and the portly tangle of the big belly oak, reputedly the nation's oldest. This behemoth is thought to be 1100 years old, having cracked through its acorn when the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms finally united under King Athelstan, in whose annals the forest is first recorded as Saphannock. Like a snarling cyclops, restrained by a steel collar to prevent it collapsing or running amok. The big belly is an icon of England and roughly the same vintage. Its shock of leaves in spring brings to mind lines from George Herbert, and now in age I bud again. Who would have thought my shriveled heart could have recovered greenness? Today, though, I am drawn deeper in, through the trees to a chapel of ease. St. Catherine's Church, perched like a nesting box in the northeastern branches of the forest. This pocket cathedral, consecrated in 1861, is a woodland glade in stone, sharing the Savernake's spirit of stilled anticipation, as if before the starting pistol. when, at the end of the Second World War, an ammunition store hidden close by exploded, nearly every window was blasted out, and the walls so badly weakened that a diocesan committee suggested St. Catherine's be demolished. Yet here she remains, unshattered. Red bricked relics in various stages of decay decorate the lanes hereabouts. The former Forest Hotel, whose last guests left in the late 90s, remnants of the high and low-level rail stations, the platform of the former now a sunken garden, and corroded gateways to absent avenues. The Savernake has stayed privately owned since 1548, when granted to the Seymour family of Wolfhall, favoured as a hunting lodge by Henry VIII when pursuing his dubious quarry. Although the original hall wasted away soon after that other obese oak, a soul-stained window was recovered and illuminates Great Bedwin Church, all Tudor flowers and faded feathers. Hilary Mantel's dazzling novels have sparked such interest in the site that the current crumbling pile at Wolfhall Farm now bristles with archaeologists. I watched them briefly, waist deep in the Seymour sewer system, brushing off the rock of ages. At its largest extent in the 13th century, the Savernake Forest covered an area 10 times its present patch, reaching to Hungerford in the east and south nearly as far as Salisbury Plain, becoming so large that in order to prevent it merging with the other 8 Wiltshire forests into one arboreal conurbation, 2 clauses in the Magna Carta were needed explicitly to limit its spread. By the time Capability Brown arranged his scheme of radial parades and pleasing bowers, the forest had been pollarded down to pretty much its present size. A very human wilderness, then. Yet wild it is, nevertheless. And if men and women withdrew, an unbound Savernake would soon reclaim whatever ground has been lost. Its oldest oaks provoke an awe bordering on fear. Strolling up Long Harry, a path worth walking for the name alone, I approach the cathedral oak, a spreading millennial with a hide like Dura's rhinoceros. Before its chancel of branches, you can either stand, transfixed, or slowly retreat. God bless you as you go to ground.